Kendrick Lamar Duckworth was born on the 17th of June, 1987, in the streets of Compton, California. A lyricist first and foremost, inspired by the likes of Tupac, Kendrick was one of the first few rappers that write the intricacy of a poet. This standout characteristic of his music makes for an incredible amount of interpretation and replayability. Most of his lyrics consist of either double or triple entendres that all link back to the several central meanings of his music, of which K. covers racism, gang violence, struggle with religion, and introspections of himself and his actions. Each album consists of a spiritual journey undertaken behind the colorful sampling and vocals, combined with the jazz-inspired instrumental as Kendrick himself deconstructs his own motivations and often his ego. One of his most popular and influential albums, and my personal favorite, To Pimp a Butterfly, tackles such concepts. The entire album is a psychological journey in which Kendrick realizes that he's being manipulated by the music industry and by extension Uncle Sam, and is confronted by the misuse of his own influence. Each song on this album introduces a new line to a repeated poem, which is later revealed to be directed towards Tupac. And the final song, Mortal Man. One of the most upfront songs on this album, You, which features a repeated chorus of fade into a drunken Kendrick wrestling with his own guilt and self-loathing for leaving behind Compton and the victims of its violence. Its foil, later on in the album, I, represents Kendrick coming to love himself and all of those in his community. All of this leads him to visit South Africa for answers, in which Kendrick learns to cast away the chains set upon him by the industry and the ones of his own proprietorship. While here, K-Dot meets a homeless man begging for money, who smells of booze. He ignores the man and grows more and more annoyed with him until the derelict reveals himself as God by the end of the song. By the end, Kendrick learns himself that he's only a mortal man and cannot change all of which he has no control over. Confronting his idol with poetry, K-Dot will find peace for the moment. In the following album, Damn, Kendrick confronts an internal conflict far more spiritual in nature. In the first track, Kendrick is killed while attempting to assist a poor blind woman. The contrasting themes of wickedness and weakness are introduced in this song, Blood. The sins of Kendrick are laid out in each track, though few are resolved. Many of the songs, such as DNA, stand as imposturing, flaunting his success as a popular rapper. In the music video, an excerpt from Fox News has two hosts blame one of his performances from his previous albums as a reason behind gang violence, which makes it seem as though the second act is dedicated towards these people and their ideas. Speaking of the second act, which is an inflammatory response, addresses the absurd idea that the genre of rap itself is responsible for the problems that afflict the black community in America. This conclusion conveniently ignores decades of institutionalized racism and complex economic factors that lead to the many issues faced in low-income black communities. Though, even in humble, Kendrick can't help but diss his opponents and bolster his own success. In this album, instead of a poem, Damn utilizes repetition of certain lines of the first two tracks so as to remind the listener of the meaning behind each song, and those simplest phrases can assume new meanings given new context. This is one of the most double and triple entendre heavy albums Kendrick has ever produced. His second album, Good Kid, Mad City, acts as a callback to his time in Compton, and utilizes a repetition of phone calls and messages left by K-Dot's close friends and loved ones as a build-up to the events in the album, which are based on those that occurred in his childhood. This album serves to act as a guild that is present in To Pimp a Butterfly, and receives many references in the latter album.